All right, bet. So, James Gunn says Superman is an immigrant story about basic human kindness. So, basically, he says Superman is the story of America, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. But for me, is a story about basic human kindness, blah, blah, blah. So, who wrote this shit? John Blistine? He says,
believe it or not, it's true. Before there was Clark Kent of Smallville, there was Kal-El from Krypton. Superman is now, and always has been, by definition, an immigrant refugee.
Stop. So this is basically along the lines of what James Gunn was saying, where he was saying,
he's an alien and he's this and the third.
But the problem with his analogy is that Kal-El, unlike the immigrants that you're referring to, the illegal immigrants, because again, there's a differentiating factor between an illegal alien and a legal alien. So I actually think that this is very funny because this more so is in line with General Zod and how he was in Man of Steel. Now, if you remember in Man of Steel, same old Superman story. He comes to Earth, he's grows up in American culture, and this and the third. So as the story progresses, if you've never seen Man of Steel, I'll explain. General Zod comes to Earth, right? He's from Krypton, comes to Earth. No one wants him here, right? He's coming in, invading, and letting it know that I'm invading your fucking planet.
It's coming in on the RSS feeds.
You are not alone. To Kal-El, I say this: surrender within 24 hours, or watch this world suffer the consequences.
Okay? That's like the illegal immigrants. They're coming into your country and letting you know, we're invading your ass. We don't care. Now, much like the illegal immigrants, General Zod doesn't want to come to Earth and integrate and fit in with the Earth people, the humans. He wants to come in and terraform the entire Earth and turn it into fucking Krypton.
We are now slaves to the world engine.
Initiate.
This is what you see with the illegal immigrants that these dickheads are referring to. What do I mean? It's a false dichotomy, right? James Gunn says some corny shit about,
we want to see an illegal alien beat up a billionaire.
Which is like, bro, you're so corny. Like, this has been going on since before Donald Trump was born, which is obviously who you're referring to. So, like, you're such a cornball. Please shut the fuck up and make a good movie. But instead, he wanted to make it a propaganda machine that doesn't even make sense. And I'll explain. So, like I said, General Zod came in and he was trying to terraform Earth to turn it into Krypton.
How do those relate to the illegal immigrants, Liddy?
You may ask. Well, I'll explain. So, these illegal immigrants, the Haitians, the Venezuelans, the Mexicans, the Hondurans, whoever the fuck you want to name, the illegal immigrants who are coming and crossing through the border, they don't want to assimilate to American culture. We see this in places like Michigan, in places like Ohio, where these people are not integrating. They don't speak the language. They don't even know how to drive, yet somehow they have cars and driver's licenses. And they're literally dregs of their own communities. But yet somehow we're supposed to feel bad for them that they're getting deported from a country that they aren't supposed to be in. And I also find this very interesting because Mexico was dealing with a similar immigration problem. Mexico themselves are having an immigration problem of illegal immigration from Americans.
These protesters in Mexico City say cross-border migration is changing their country's capital for the worse. Protesters say the newcomers have driven up rents beyond the reach of locals.
If they're going to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. The first and simplest issue is legal migration. They come here with visas or no visas, and still the change in purchasing power generates these problems of gentrification and displacement.
I'm here because gentrification is just one more step towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources. Right now it's about the people, but it won't be long before they run out of oil, water, or lithium in other countries and come and take them from us.
Yep. Americans are migrating to Mexico illegally and taking advantage of the low cost of living because they can still make their American wages working online in their apartment. And so now the Mexican people are revolting because they're like, hey, these people are taking advantage of our system. These people are kicking us out. They're putting us out on the street. So They don't want you in their country, so why the fuck should we allow them in ours? I'm not understanding. But anywho, my point is, bringing it back to the actual point of what I was making and why James Gunn is a fucking hack, at least from this perspective, maybe not from a movie making perspective. I just think it's really ironic because if we think about Superman from a holistic perspective, if we take all the bullshit out, like all the filler and the garbage, the politics of today, and we look at Superman holistically from across all time, Superman is conservatism. Like there's this whole movement for progressives to act like anybody who is a figurehead to look up to would support their ideology. And it doesn't make any sense, right? Because like they'll do the same thing with, say, Jesus. They'll be like, Jesus would never support the right. Jesus would be a leftist. If Jesus was here, ICE would deport him. Well, no, Jesus was here, ICE would not deport him, because if Jesus was in America, he would be here legally. He wouldn't have illegally crossed the border, because guess what? That's a sin. And in the Bible, you're supposed to obey the laws of the land. So in order for him to be an illegal immigrant, which would be the only reason he'd be deported, he would have to break the laws of the land. Therefore, he would be sinning. Therefore, he wouldn't be Jesus, because that's not in his nature. You're stupid. Anyway, let's continue. So it's the same comparison, right? They're like, oh, well, Superman, he's an illegal alien. Okay, on some nerdy culture talking points, let's break it down like this, right? There is a storyline in Elseworlds called The Red Sun, right? Sure, plenty of you nerds who are listening to this, you all heard of it. Superman doesn't land in America, he lands in Russia. Now he's a Soviet Union ally and this, that, and the third. In that scenario, if Superman were to fly to America and says, you know what, I want to live here. He's a fucking illegal alien. Now, there ain't shit you can do about it to kick him the fuck out unless you lace America with kryptonite and just make it unlivable for the nigga. There's no way that you're going to get him out. It's just not happening. So, it's funny, right? If he landed in China, he'd be a Chinese Superman. I mean, he wouldn't literally be Chinese, but you know what I mean? He'd be a Chinese nationalist. He'd be loyal to China. And if he were to try to live in another country, him being the Boy Scout that he is, if we assume that he has the same characteristics, he would follow the laws of the land. He wouldn't just illegally migrate. So this whole idea that, oh, it's comparable to illegal immigrants, it's literally not, because they have a home, you fucking idiot. It's not comparable at all because they have a place to go back to. They literally left their home. He was a baby. You're comparing adult human beings who have a place on earth that they came from, that they deliberately left to enter America illegally, versus a fictional alien who literally landed in America. And even in the storyline where he landed somewhere else, he adopted the nationality of the place that he landed. And he followed the rules of that land. Superman didn't try to pervert the rules and say, oh, fuck society because I can fly and I can break buildings in half. Bro still follow the rules. Dude still follows the law. So I'm not really understanding where the comparison comes in. So this is why it's like, bro, you sound really stupid. You're trying to sound like you're smart. You're making yourself look dumb. You got egg on your face. But let's continue. Gunn's comments to the Times sparked expected backlash from the far right anti-immigration mega set. Oh, brother! See, again, I gotta bring it back to the face cam. Why in the fuck is it that you're anti-immigration if you don't like illegal immigrants? Oh. Again, if we're doing a comparison, Superman would be a legal immigrant and General Zod would be the illegal immigrant, because Superman came to America, first of all, wasn't even of his own volition, so that's already a faulty fucking premise.
This nigga's spitting right now.
But then on top of that, General Zod came to change and adapt the world to be like Krypton. He wanted to terraform the entire planet to be a Krypton. Superman didn't come to Earth to change it into Krypton. He came to Earth and he adapted to Earth. He became a fucking human. He became a human. He became a productive member of the American society. He didn't start robbing banks and start jacking cars because he could just rip the handle off and open a door. Like, what are you talking about? That's a stupid comparison. You would actually have to be a moron. The other word that I'm thinking of starts with an R and it's flagged, so I can't say that one. So I'm gonna just say a moron. You would actually have to be a moron to believe that that's a valid comparison. But let's continue because they keep putting egg on their face. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a pseudo-intellectual. So this moron continues and says, Ben Shapiro does deign to acknowledge that Superman is an immigrant and insists that he's a story about a man who assimilates to American cultures and then brings those classic American values to the big city. Which, look, if we're going to specify, yes, Superman is a fucking immigrant, but that's a categorical issue that you're having, where you're trying to fit, oh, because he's an immigrant, that means he's an illegal immigrant. He's not, because he has no other place to fucking go. If you look at it from that lens, he would be an illegal immigrant everywhere. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, as if the classic American values Superman learned in his adoptive hometown of Smallville don't all spring up from the ultimate act of kindness, generosity, and faith that is embracing a stranger in a strange land. Again, completely missing the point. Embracing a stranger in a strange land, they say. Okay, the only people, like, oh my God, bro, you're so stupid. The only people who embraced a stranger in a strange land were his fucking parents, because they were the only people who knew he came from a different planet, you fucking idiot. What the fuck are you talking about? His parents are the only ones who knew he came from a different planet. What are you saying? Bro, so brain dead. They're so brain dead. And not, empowering unidentified masked goons to snatch them off the street and send them to detention camps in the Everglades. It's almost like they conveniently forget that all of these liberals literally dox these ICE agents' locations and try to warn these illegal immigrants about ICE presence in the area so that they can escape. But now if they do it unidentified so they can be covert about it, now that's a problem too, because you're not identifying yourself so I can tell people to run away. Yeah, this is why you don't listen to everybody, folks, because there are just some people like John Blisstein who are fucking stupid.
You feel me?
Nathan Fillion says, someone needs a hug. It's just a movie, guys. Typical Hollywood gaslight. Anyway, that's all I got. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to have a review up of Superman on Friday. Should be Friday morning because I'm going Thursday night to catch a late night screening and all that jazz. So, new video up on Friday. I got you. Don't even trip.